And come on, he has a cloud too.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to crumble!
I'm Joshua Kemble, and welcome to Joshua Kemble's Livestream. I've been a freelance illustrator and graphic designer for over 20 years. I was an art director for 9 years. And when I'm not art directing and working on illustrations and graphic designs, I'm working on comic books and graphic novels, and that's usually what I do during my streams. And while conversations can go all over the place on this stream, from spicy and entertaining to goofy and silly, one thing stays consistent throughout every stream. I'll always be working on art. So pull up a chair, get your art supplies out, and get ready for an entertaining show that'll keep you company while you work on your own personal art projects. This is Joshua Kemble's Art Stream. All right, guys, welcome to my live stream. Let me know if you have trouble hearing the audio or anything like that. What I'm going to be working on today is we're going to continue restoring this classical guitar. And if you're here for comics, I'm going to be working on comics a little later. But I've been working on restoring this and upgrading this classical guitar that's like a Jom from the 1960s, I believe. And what we're doing right now is basically adding a radius to the fretboard. So we're going to sand off the rest of these inlay dots. And then we're going to actually install inlay dots onto the guitar. So it should be pretty fun. I had to pause the last stream to have lunch and also to get more sandpaper. So I actually got a deeper grit. So I've got 100 grit, which I'm going to hit this with till we get to the level we want. And then we'll polish up the grits from there. So we had already started the sanding process and removed the frets on our last stream. And on this stream, we're basically going to continue sanding. This should go remarkably quicker because we have a lot more sanding boards. I was trying to make it work with the limited sanding blocks that I had, and that wasn't working. So we're adding a 16-inch radius because I'm a steel string guitarist, not a classical guitarist. So I want a slight radius on my fretboard. So what I'm going to do now is just I've added the 100 grit, and we're just going to keep going on the sanding on this until we've basically sanded the fretboard entirely. We've taped off the edges. The 100 is going to be a little rough, and then we're going to move from 100 to 220, and then up all the grits once we have these inlay markers that the guitar maker had painted on. And then after that, what we're going to do is install our own pearl inlays. Or not pearl, I keep saying pearl. Yeah, pearl. Yeah, it is pearl. Pearl inlays. Okay, so I have the inlays and the drill bit and stuff for that, but we're going to get the fretboard in shape to do that first. And then we'll probably, if we have time, install the new frets as well. So on the last stream, if you want to know how, we removed all of these old just torched fret wire from the fretboard, and now we're radiusing the fretboard from a flat to a radius at a 16-inch radius, and it's basically the sanding. This sanding paper is taped using double stick tape to a 16-inch radius. We're gonna see a lot more action on this because this is 100 grit, so this should move a little quicker than the last stream. And I can already tell it's moving like a million times faster, which is beautiful. We're just going to do this until these fret markers have completely disappeared. And generally, I'm trying to go even with my strokes, but I am noticing that the middle got knocked off pretty quickly. So that might signal that there might have been a little too much sanding on those ends. But I am noticing a marked difference in using the 100 grit versus the higher grain sandpaper. Philip said, it seems that Josh has gone from cartooning and illustrating to wood sanding. Well, I'll be doing cartooning tonight, but it's a Saturday, and I finally got all the supplies to do the fretboard on this guitar, and I'm really excited about that. So we'll see if I can do it. I kind of feel like the two are really interrelated because I think a lot of art is very similar to like any sort of art form. I would consider woodworking an art form. And a lot of it seems really intimidating at first. You know, like removing and installing new frets is a very intimidating process for most guitarists. And I think a lot of it's more doable than we give credit for. We're taking off a lot of wood on this, by the way. And if you're a classical guitarist, this may not be recommended. But I'm a guitarist coming from the point of view of a steel string guitarist. So I want a radius on my fretboard. I will also end up radiusing the nut as well as the saddle to compensate. Because you definitely want your radius kind of to be across the board so that the strings land squarely. This is going so much smoother than the last one. So I just needed a tougher grit of sandpaper for the initial sanding process. And it's taking like no time at all, which is lovely. Can you hear me okay, by the way, Philip? I saw you in the chats. And by the way, Philip, what are you working on, buddy? So we are doing a really tough grit of sandpaper here, which is good. I should have probably equated that earlier because we're going to have to get rid of a lot of this rosewood to get a proper radius on the board. So it makes sense that I needed a thicker, tougher sandpaper than the kind I was using. Let's see how our flat end is doing. Okay. We're almost there. Philip said I can hear you just fine. That's great. I will be working tonight probably on Not Death But Love, The Strange Supernatural Story of Elizabeth Barrett Browning. Oh my goodness, guys, we're almost there. We are so close. It's so far away. Okay, I'm going to switch sides. I'm glad I got new sandpaper, though. I was fighting the sandpaper earlier. And what it comes down to is sometimes when you're sanding or doing sanding work, you just need a fresh sheet of sandpaper or the proper grit. We still have a little bit to go. Philip was saying you use the same mic I use. Yeah, this is my secondary mic. It was my first podcasting mic. And then the other one is a blue, but it's the other one, like the tall one. But this is the mic I'll be using when I'm streaming from my laptop, so I can have a setup that's away from my desktop. You guys will not believe the level of wood we have taken off of this neck. And a good sign of it is like we're probably taking about a quarter of an inch off the sides of the neck here. So it makes sense that I needed to up my grit of sandpaper for the task. All right, so I shouldn't have left my tape there. We'll just dust this off, see where we're at. Oh my goodness, it's almost removed entirely, which is great. Good news. Okay. We just have a little bit more to go. Gary said the grooves are hard to even see anymore. Yeah, 100%. We are almost there, guys. Whew. I probably took off like a good chunk of wood there. Probably about a quarter of an inch of wood. Which brings us to another point of working on a guitar is the cleanup is a lot of fun. Whew. Excuse me. All right. We're there. Now we're going to go through the grits of sandpaper. We'll move on to our 220. Because right now it's pretty rough. I mean, it's smooth, but it can be smoother. So right now we're going to go through every grit of sandpaper. So here's a fresh sheet of 220. Which will start to smooth out the board. Because right now it's pretty rough if you feel it. It's not super rough, but this is going to really, really clean up the mess. So that's hitting it with some 220. And at this point, I'm going to wet the paper. And we're going to wet sand. And we'll wet sand from 220 all the way to the higher numbers. Which will give it a real nice quality. It's already starting to look real fancy. All right, so we got our 100, our 220. Gonna go through our grits. Kiss my grits. Okay, higher grade, higher grit. I'm gonna wet it. So we're jumping up to 600. Now we're going to go to 800. Go on to 800. Still pretty wet, so I'm just going to go straight to the 1,000. Oh, stick came off. Do I have to retape? Yes, I do. The tape got wet. So we're going to redouble stick tape. Whew. I will tell you guys, this is going to feel smooth as all, like whatever you could imagine to be really super smooth. It's going to be so cleaned compared to before. Because this fretboard was in bad shape. It was from the 60s, I believe. So it had a lot of play wear on it, with finger marks and all sorts of stuff. And this will make it almost like brand new. And generally with a rosewood fretboard, you're not going to be applying finish to it other than oil. So you really do want the wood to be pretty smooth. So this is 1,000 grit. We're already starting to see it kind of smooth out and shine a little bit. Get some water. Got that 1,000 grit. Now it's 1,500 grit. Go ahead and use that same wetness for a 2,000 grit. Finishing it off with the 2,500 grit. Final pass with the 3,000 grit, and we should be good with the fretboard. We're going to have to do the sanding all over again once we have the inlay dots. Whew. Now let me test a couple things. I need to dry it off a little bit. Okay. Now our inlay dots we're going to have to actually drill in for, but I want you to see how clean that looks. You can see the streaks in the wood. We'll oil this fretboard too, but it's super clean. Super, it's hard to explain, but it's like you can feel the smoothness of it. Yes. My wife is wonderful. I asked her to get me a monster because they were picking stuff up. Boom, she got me a monster. My wife bought me a monster.
I also got a wall patch.
And a wall patch so we can fix our we have like a, you know those little hangers for your towels? The towel rack thing, the towel hanger in our bathroom got loose. Guys, we are so close. Okay. Now here's what we need to do. A couple things we got to do. One is I need a... Yes. I need one of these. I need to go get a ruler. So I'll be right back. And what we're going to do is we're going to rule out the center points where the dots meet. Oh, I was looking for oh, there it is. Okay, we're going to rule out the center point for where the dots go. And then what we're going to do is drill. We're going to have a dot here, 2 dots here. Actually, sorry, dot, 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 2 dots, 2 dots. So anyhow, that's probably what we're going to do. But what we need to do is find the center points to do those things. And then from there, we're gonna drill a hole in the spots that the little fret dots go in.
Are you sure you don't need a Dremel instead of a hole?
And we have it's a tool to drill a circle.
No. Yeah, but isn't that more like a Dremel?
It's similar, yeah.
You know what you're doing. I
Yeah.
don't know what I'm doing.
So anyhow, so then we have these beautiful pearl inlays that we're gonna put in. Yeah. So let me go get a ruler, and we'll be right back. Okay. All right, so I got everything. So basically what we're going to do is I'm going to measure, let's see. So on the 3rd fret, we're going to have our first dot from end to end. So I'm measuring it from cut line to cut line. And I'm drawing a line there with a ruler. A cool ruler that my kid had from school. So we end up with like an X. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's, yeah, you can probably see it right there. The center point of that will be the first dot. Do our second, which will be the 5th fret. And I'll probably check this with one of my existing guitars just to make sure I'm not wrong. Because I could see me, even though I know where the dots are, messing up and thinking it's somewhere it's not. So there's our next center line. Okay. Now we're going to get to our 7th fret. Seventh fret, 9th fret, ninth fret. Now we've got 10, 11, 12 will be the double. So how we do that's pretty interesting. So what I'm going to do is draw a line from the end to the other end. Draw another line from that end to that end. There's a bit of a shadow, so I'll put the ruler on this side so it's not creating a shadow. And then I'm going to do, I'll do the double in a second, but I just want to get my last marker in. And then I want to look at a guitar that I have just to see if I want to do 2 double dots or a single double dot. This is going to be fun to figure out. And we're definitely going to be conditioning the heck out of this fretboard when we're done. Okay. So let me go grab an existing guitar, but let's show you what we have so far. So far we have a lot of center lines marked with X's on the frets. But we don't have our double fret lines yet, and we'll get into that in a second. Okay, let me go get an existing guitar. Okay. So this is the Yamaha that I previously restored. It has the a nice little humidifier in it just to keep the wood nice. But while we're looking at it, we ought to see where the doubles are. So right here we have, they just skipped the 3rd fret. They have one double on the 7th, double on the 12th. So that's the catch. They have double on the 7th and double on the 12th. So maybe we'll do the 7th and the 12th too. We'll see how many dots I have too. So I'm going to open up my inlay dots. Where did I put them? Here they are. Open up my inlay dots and I'm going to grab one. I'm also going to count them and see how many I have. Okay, these are very small. They're about that small. The depth is really shallow on these. So when I'm doing this drilling, I need to be really cognizant of that. Okay, so we're going to do a double on one. This is 3rd, 4th, 5th. Well, let's make sure we have enough dots. So I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Wait, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19. So if I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I should be good. So we're going to double on the 7th. So 7th and on the 12th, which is right here. So 7 and the 12th. And then the easy peasy part here is now we're going to do a little line here and a line here. And then we're going to do a line here. Starting to look like some witchcrafty pattern on the guitar. And a line here. Similarly, a line here. A line here. So now we're going from the center to the end on each end. Okay, so I'll show you guys what I measured out. basically on the doubles, let me see. The doubles look like this. So we basically measured out the center lines on those by finding the center and then creating a crisscross there. So now we have exactly the measurements we need. Now we just need to open the drill bit and kind of get going. It's pretty insane. And hopefully this is the part I've never done before. So hopefully we get it right. We have to be really shallow with our drill. Ideally, you'd have a drill press, but I do not have a drill press. And we're talking about getting like about 1 millimeter deep. So just like a tap. Okay, but we do have drill bits that are made to make circular indentations. So we're going to try on one and see how it goes. Okay. So we'll get our drill bit out. Make sure it matches. I believe this is 1/4 of an inch. Actually, I think it's 1/16 of an inch. So we'll have to see from our drill bits. Or 1/8 of an inch, sorry. Let's see how wide our circle is. Our circle inlay dot. So our inlay dot is 1/4 of an inch exactly. So we're going to do our 1/4 of an inch. We're going to get our tape. And I'm going to measure about, let's see how thick. Yeah, it's 2 millimeters. So I want it to be about 2 millimeters from the highest point. So we are barely going to scratch the surface of this wood. So it's 2 millimeters. And we'll see if this works. Ooh, this is nerve-wracking. This is the fun stuff, guys. This is where I might ruin the guitar. Okay, so the great thing about this is, if I do this correctly, it might be a little too shallow at first, but too shallow is way better than too deep. So we're going to go to our direct center. Our direct center. Oh, that's so nerve-wracking. And we're just going to gradually like start getting that hole in there. Starting to get the outer edge, so that's good. We're getting close, but not quite there. Close, not quite there. Closer. So now we have our dot hole, right? But it's not quite deep enough. It's going to need to come down quite a bit. It's about 1 millimeter now. Whew. So nerve-wracking. This is the first time I've ever done this on a guitar, and it's a little nerve-wracking. It's working, though. That's good. Whew. My fret dot is laying right in there. Needs to come down about 1 millimeter. Okay. And I think with these, we're just going to go nice and slow and steady. Here, I'll tilt it a little bit so hopefully you guys can kind of see what I'm doing. See where we're at with our fret inlays. Starting to get there. Still poking out a little bit. Our inlay dot is pretty much flush, except for like one little side. So we'll try doing that. Oh my goodness, I love it. And then what we'll do is sand it. So it's good for it to be just sticking up just a little bit. Perfect. So what I'm going to do is going to get our super glue. I need to have a wet thing too. So, usually when I'm using super glue on a guitar, I'll use like those little kind of accurate little tiny dot things. But I think on this case, because these dot holes are so big, we can just dab it right in there. Then we'll slide our inlay dot in there and press down. Oh no, that was bad. Oh my goodness. Did we have a failure? We had a failure. No! Luckily I have extra inlay dots. Okay, let's try this one more time with a new inlay dot. That should have worked super smoothly, but it didn't. Okay, and we just need to put an inlay dot on there and just basically push it into the hole. Now what I'm going to do is get my little hammer. Have one of these hammers, and we're just going to make sure it's nice and flush in there. It's okay if a little bit's sticking out. You know what? That ain't too bad. Okay. First fret marker in. And again, we're going to be resanding the end. But we now have a fret marker in there. Chapow. So we just have to do that a bunch more times. Whew. So I also am going to take a tip that I saw from some previous people. Where I'm going to take some of the sawdust, apply water on it, and then just kind of rub it on there. Just to like get in those grooves. Okay. Whew. Just a couple more of those to go. That's nerve-wracking, man. Okay. Again, I'm kind of surprised, though. It did work, which is awfully strange. Okay. Just goes to show you, if you read about these things, it's not rocket science, you know? It's kind of nicely doable. Okay. Number 2. Oh, wait, let me get another fret marker, too. Because I feel like watching it with the fret marker is very helpful. Little pieces of pearl. Little tiny pieces of pearl. Some person said groovy. Yeah. Yeah, we might get there. We might get there. I want to make sure I'm right on the center dot. which we already perfectly measured. And this is ideally done with a drill press if you have one, but I do not. Starting to get the scoring of the wood there. Circles cut. Hopefully this is kind of making sense. It's a long process, but it's going to be so cool to have pearl inlays. Just a little bit more. Let's check it out. I don't think it's quite at the depth it needs to be. Yeah, it needs to be just a tiny bit deeper. Just a little bit deeper. Let's do just a tiny bit more. And this is an interesting dot because it wasn't cut flushly, so I have to be a little careful with it. Let's try doing just a little. There we go. That sticks out so much on one corner. I wonder if I have a different inlay dot that's cut more evenly. Because this one was a little uneven. See if we have a smoother cut. Yeah, this one's smoother. Okay, we can go a lot deeper. Okay. Just a little bit more. It is kind of tense because it's not exact science. And I don't want to go too far. Okay, one more, and then we're probably good. Still don't like it. It's still like about a bit too shallow. I will do this though, because my laptop's getting it now with all the sawdust. Okay. One more twist. Okay. This time I won't use the wet thing yet. Kind of drop this first. Just need one drop. Okay. Close it up. Get our guy. Pop him in there. Then hold that in until it dries.
I've seen a fireworm circle. I just saw a fireworm circle somewhere. And I'm running away from that.
Then do our little trick. Grabbing some sawdust. Pinch of that sawdust. Kind of dipping in there. And then kind of rubbing it in to get any like holes on the side. Whew. Okay. We have 2 fret dots so far. You'll notice they're a little bit above. We're going to take those off with the planing afterwards. But we have 2 fret dots. Now, next is our double frets, but we're not going to do those quite yet. We're going to take a little break. So if you haven't yet, hit the like and subscribe button. I usually do comics, but I'm going to be doing more of this like guitar work occasionally on here. We have 2 fret dots. Beautifully installed fret inlays, and they're pearl, which is great. Okay. And we have our fretboard radius. We'll be treating this and cleaning it in a second. But we got some more fret dots to go. I'll be right back. You're on my channel if you haven't yet. Like I said, hit like, hit subscribe. Wow. Okay. I'll be right back. Clearly it seems that only in dreams can we be these things we've seen and walk around breathing I don't know the part to play in this heart of Now we go to our double fret dots. Whew! I'm going to have some more energy drink. Double fret dots. Let's go. Starting to get there. Getting closer. At this point, I'm just going to check. I don't think it's deep enough, but it doesn't hurt to check. A little bit more. Let's do one more. Yes, that's nice and good in there. Okay. So we have one dot. So again, get my my little cloth thing. This will work. Have a little wet cloth nearby. We learned a few things from our first attempt at this. One dot. Kind of take my time. Pop this in there. Oh, needs to be popped in there. Held down. Or it's not going to stick to my finger. Now we're going to wipe it. And then we'll do our little, get some of this sawdust. It's down here. Dip it in water and rub it in. Just to fill the little gaps, hopefully. Sweet. Well, when we'll really see if this is effective is when we get to the sanding, you know, because I'm leaving just a bit out so that when we radius it again, it'll just knock it all down again. Shouldn't take that much either because it's pearl, so I don't think it's as hard as rosewood. Okay, making sure the dot is aligned. It is. Second fret dot. Let's go. Like a notch or so more, and then we're good to go on that. Starting to get a better feel of like how far is far in. Oh, that was actually a perfect hole. Oh no, that might have been too perfect of a hole. Okay, hold on. That one was like so dead on that it sucked the thing in there. See if we can get it to pop out. There we go. That was actually a perfectly deep one. All right. Here we go. Again, using our little trick. We're going to just have one drop. Put the cap on so we don't super glue our fingers. We're going to just tap this in. Oh, that was the wrong way to tap it in. There we go. And then similarly, we're going to add just a little bit of this sawdust just to get those cracks. That one was like perfectly drilled. That was great. Okay, so I'll show you guys what we got so far. Boom. Only a few more to go. Ninth fret. I'm going to make sure I'm right on the dot. There we go. Ninth fret, let's go. I think that might be deep enough. Let's find out. This is another badly cut fret dot. This one's good. A little bit deeper, I guess. This one's kind of awkward too. Okay, just a little bit more. A little bit deeper. Oh, one more little bit deeper. That should be about perfect. Yep, that's about perfect. So what we're going to do is, again, we're going to drop a little one drop in here.
I just hit a big one. I just hit a big one, like right when I spawned. That got me like 400 something.
And just some sawdust. Fill the cracks.
Same, because they had me earlier with the worm circle. I just died this.
Whew! We're getting there, ladies and gentlemen. We're getting there. We have 3 holes left to go. Okay, let's go. Let's get it. Move this so you guys can see. This is another one of our double dots. And we're just drilling right in there. Let's go one little bit deeper. Okay. Again, we're going to add a little bit of super glue, just a dab, just a dot. Oh, that was way too much. That's going to ooze out when I pop it in there. That's okay. Just have to avoid getting it on my finger. Perfect. And we're going to just do a quick wipe just to make sure we get all the excess glue off. And then we'll do our little trick with water and the yep. All right. 2 more to go, guys. 2 more to go. I actually am really stunned that this is working. My first time doing it. My first time doing inlay dots, and it's working beautifully. Okay. Just move this just a little bit more. There we go. Ooh, hopefully that one's not too deep. I feel like I've figured out the perfect amount, but we'll find out. Grab another one of these beautifully pre-cut little pieces. They look kind of like that. They sparkle, though, in the light, which is kind of cool. Because it's pearl. So now you know what goes into your guitar when you see those pearl inlays or the pearloid inlays. Someone had to manually do this. Or they had a CNC machine, you know. But I don't know if CNC machines can really do inlays anymore, you know. Or I shouldn't say anymore. I don't know if they've ever had that capacity. Look at that. Make sure it's in there real good. These rubber-ended things are great, especially when we get into installing the frets. So I'm going to, again, just grab some of this sawdust and just kind of rub it just to like fill in hopefully any of the holes that need filling. These beautiful pearl inlays. Whew. Last one. I think that's about deep enough. Grab our last inlay dot. One dot of super glue. That's all we need. One dot. This stuff is powerful stuff. Don't want to overdo it, you know. Get that in there. Make sure it's nicely in there. Again, grabbing a pinch of sawdust, dipping it in some water. Maybe I'll dip it in water a little bit more. And just trying to get that excess areas, like any little cracks that I might be missing. Whew! All right. We have installed all our fret dots. They look like crazy right now. But what we're going to do is go through the sanding process all over again. And these should be flush and beautiful when we're done. Then we'll condition and install the frets and all that fun stuff, which we might do on this stream. So if you guys are enjoying this, let me know. Make sure you hit the like button, all that fun stuff. Let's get some of this excess crap off of this fretboard. Man, this poor guitar is just covered in sawdust. And I'm definitely going to have a lot of cleanup after this to clean up my little work area. All right. We're going to get back into sanding in a second. I'm going to leave this bowl of water too, because we're going to be doing wet sanding once we get these all flush and beautiful. So I'm going to play another trailer, and then we'll get back into sanding this. And then conditioning it, then installing frets.
Well, Peter, since I'm such a big music fan, I'm gonna have to go with Karen Carpenter. Oh, Stu, I'm sorry. That's the incorrect answer. Trish, what you got for us?
I'm gonna go with Kim Gordon.
All right, let's check that answer. Kim Gordon. Do we have a Kim Gordon? Yes, and that means you're our new Wordzoid champion, Trish. Dale, tell Trish what she's won. Trish, you've won a copy of 2 stories, a memoir of faith and mental illness. Handwritten, hand-drawn, and handed to you by artist and writer Joshua Kemble. But wait, that's not all. You've also won a copy of Jacob's Apartment, the story of a doomed romance. What happens when you take Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and put it in a blender with Ghost World? You get Jacob's Apartment, written and illustrated by Joshua Kemble. Trish, thank you for playing Wordzoid.
All right, great job, Trish.
I was told I was gonna get a lifetime supply of paper towels.
All right, guys, we're back to our 100 grit. We're going to do our 100 grit. We're going to go through the whole cycle. The one thing I forgot is we also have to put in the side inlays. So we're going to do that before we do our frets. So let me go ahead and pop this down so you can see it. And again, 100 grit. Should make those nice and smooth with the surface. Getting there. I'm going to do this till those feel flush. And I'm starting to see white dust, which is good. That means it's taking off some of that. Starting to feel flush. Feeling a little bit of edge. Way closer. A little bit back here too. Starting to feel it. You see the white though, that's the dots that are being sanded flush to the edge. Oh, that couldn't be smoother. A little bit back here. That dot's standing out a little bit. Not liking that. A little bit of a bump. Everything else is flush. Closer. Oh man. Whew. Beautiful. Okay, one thing to check real quick. Let's see how our level is. Yeah, pretty level. Whew, guys, we're getting there. So now these should look real flush with the board. Almost like they were a part of it all along. Okay, now we're just going to go through our grits. And I'm going to wet the paper a little bit, just so we're doing wet sanding, because we want to really improve the look of the board now. Just go this way until it's got everything. Oh, I love it. Look how pretty that's looking now. Beautiful. Got a little bit of sticky to here. We'll see if this works. Next level of sandpaper. $600. Whew. Might have to retape. We'll find out. I think we do have to retape. Going up the grits. Look how pretty that is. $800. $800. Added some water to it. Do the 1,000. Don't need to add water because there was plenty on the board. $1,500. I was so nervous about adding these dots. And kind of like the last time I did a fret job, I guess a lot of this stuff, if you just research it, read about it and stuff, it's not rocket science, you know? $2,000. Starting to look real pretty though. $2,000 grit. Oh. Put water on the wrong side of this, so I'm probably going to need to re-tape, but let's find out. 2,500. The numbers I'm calling out are the grit of sandpaper, by the way. And last but not least, we'll end with a nice 3,000. That's going to really shine it up, make it real smooth and pretty. Ladies and gentlemen, look at that. Isn't that cool? Inlay dots, input in the guitar. Looks extremely pretty. I don't think we're going to condition the fretboard yet, but we will remove tape. We're going to have to add tape later on. But for this next process, I want to probably clean this up a little bit, remove the tape. So I'm going to play a trailer, but let me know what you guys think. I think these inlay dots look pretty good. All right, have a good one. I'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Phil Chandler. I'm a freelance artist, illustrator, and cartoonist. Today, though, however, I want to tell you about a graphic novel I picked up recently called Jacob's Apartment. This book was both written and beautifully illustrated by Joshua Kemble. It is the story of a doomed romance that causes the main character to question his beliefs and his faith, while he's also going through other tragedies in his life. Every page has been illustrated by hand and digitally colored with painstaking detail. It is an emotional story that causes you to think and even question things in your own life. And while the story is a tragedy, it is one that I was completely entertained by and I highly recommend. You can currently find this on Amazon or even check in with your local bookstore and see if you can order it. And while you're at it, you can also check out my Instagram at Phil Chandler Arts and also my YouTube channel by the same name, Phil Chandler Arts. And go buy Jacob's Apartment.
Okay, so what we're going to do now is just clean up a little bit of the guitar. We've done the inlay dots and radius the fretboard. So, I mean, it honestly, it's going to be hard to kind of explain this because it is a little dry. But the second we condition this with oil, I think you guys will see what I'm talking about. Like, I think this is going to be extremely beautiful, and I think we've done a really good job on this part of it. So what I'm going to do now is put the inlay dots on the side. Then we will have to go through the taping process that we started with all over again to basically start doing our fretwork. And then fretwork, again, is kind of very similar to the process that we did with radiusing the fretboard. And that might take a bit of time because you have to kind of hammer in each fret. I have to recut these lines that are on the fretboard as well. But right now what we're going to do is remove these so we can see the sides. And that'll give us a better idea of kind of the quality of the work that we've managed to do on the neck of this guitar. I think it's going to look like a pretty... it was a really cool instrument. I could tell it had really interesting woods. But I think when you see the results of what we've done so far, you're going to be like, kind of stunned in comparison to what we started with. So again, I'm kind of hooked on this process. I love it. I think what I'm going to do is probably, I might use this as a little sawdust collector to like kind of go toss in the trash, just to temporarily get things a little bit cleaned up. Not super cleaned up because we still have dirt to make, but at least a little bit more cleaned up than before. So, and again, I'm doing my keyboard too because there's sawdust on that. Okay. Whew. So let's get the tape off and then we'll kind of move from there. What I love about the fret dots is if I hadn't known that I just put these in there, it would look like that's just the way this guitar was built, which is kind of amazing. So again, like feeling pretty good about the process of like kind of recovering these old guitars, these old instruments that people, just left at like pawn shops, and they got so much play and love and probably lived through their lifetime as instruments, but through this process, we're able to kind of bring a second life to the instrument and hopefully give it like 10 or 20 years, maybe 40 more years of play. I think that's well worth it and kind of addictive and fun to do. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get the, try to get the sawdust that did manage to get inside out. And we're just going to kind of brush off the guitar a little bit, trying to get most of the sawdust that we have onto the mat. And again, we'll be cleaning this up at the end too. But right now we're just doing kind of a part-time cleanup of the instrument. And this kind of reminds me of like the eraser brushes that that cartoonists like myself use. If you're ever like drawing at a drafting table or something like that. Okay, and that's where we've gotten so far with this beautiful fretboard. Look at that. You can really see the dots kind of shining. It's really pretty cool. Came out better than I was anticipating. So I'm going to put my guitar over here, and I'm going to go dump this stuff, and then we'll get into doing our side dots. So let's use this as like a scoop. Just kind of do this. And I will be right back.
Hi, my name's Chris and I like comics. I want to talk about this comic for a second here. I just got this in. I ordered it direct from my local comic shop through Diamond Distributing. It's Joshua Kemble's Jacob's Apartment. I really enjoyed this book. There's all kinds of comics out there, let's be honest. There's fun comics, there's superhero comics, there's young adult comics, there's adventure comics for kids. There's so many different things under the planet. But there's also an entire subgenre of alternative books. Real life, real world depictions in comic book form. Situations that happen to each and every one of us. And this is a fine example of that. If you get a chance, order this book from your local comic shop. You won't be disappointed. I can't sing its praises high enough. Okay? Check it out. Jacob's Apartment by Joshua Kemble.
All right. So, I just realized my my mic needs to be in camera. Okay, so we're out of camera, just somewhere where we can see it. Let's remove this stuff. Okay, so what we're going to do now is our side dots. So we have our inlay dots installed on our guitar. They're flush. They're beautiful. What we're going to do now is side dots, which requires side drilling. And these are really tiny little tubes, basically. So we're going to find our little drill bit. that's custom made for this and pop that in our drill and kind of see what happens. It's a very tiny drill bit. I believe there's instructions with this too. So I probably want to find those wherever those went. Oh my goodness. There was a page. There it is. This says how deep to go for the drill. Okay, so we need 1/4 of an inch deep on our drill. So I'm going to get my measure here. We're going to do 1/4 of an inch deep. So I need my measure and my tape. We're going to measure out 1/4 of an inch on this drill end. You know what? Let's actually install the drill first. Removing the previous drill bit. Whew. Which I don't think we need that marker anymore. So I'll remove the tape too, as we just have this lovely stuff all over the place. So I'm excited because, again, the fret markers and the frets themselves only came in the mail yesterday while I was at work. And so I've been putting off this project for a while, and it's super fun. So I'm putting in that drill bit. I need to actually have it out a little bit more. And I need to measure 1/4 of an inch on the bit. So I'm going to get a little bit of tape where we can put it at 1/4 of an inch deep. So I'm going to measure it, 1/4 of an inch. Whoa. Let's just do 1/4 of an inch here. 1/4 of an inch deep is, we need smaller tape. And the fun thing about this for YouTube content, what if I slip with the drill? I'm kidding. Okay. Or am I? I don't know. Are any of us? Okay, so 1/4 of an inch. It's going to be about there. So that's about how far we want it to go. So now we have our little marker. Like if I get up to this point, I know to stop. This is a little scary. We're going to drill into the side of our guitar. So as if the last thing wasn't enough, we're going to drill into the side of our guitar. Straight down. And I'm going to find a center point. And I'm going to press it. Double check it. And we're going to go straight down. That's a little scary. Okay. I have drilled a hole in the side of the guitar. I don't know if you guys can even see it on the 3rd fret. So now what we're going to do is we need to insert a drop of super glue. In this one, I'm going to need to use my little... I got to actually get to my toolbox real quick. So we're going to use one of these little things for our super glue dropper, just to get into that hole. And in the background, I hear Benji saying "fire in the hole," which is a thing from a game he's been playing. But it's also kind of appropriate. There's like some weird crap on the cover of this super glue that got on there. Hopefully that won't get in the way of this popping on. And it is not doing that, so that's good. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to insert this into there, and I'm just going to drop a drop of super glue. And I should be able to see it as it goes in. So hopefully that actually stuck. We'll find out in a second. Get our tube. You want to make sure it's a very flat end. We're going to push this into the hole. And if I did it correctly, there is a little gap of super glue, so that's good. That means the glue did get in there. So I'm going to put my super glue here. And now we just need to do a carving tool. I think this will do it. And with the carving tool, I'm just going to let that sit for like a second. And then in theory, this should just push in there. Push through it. Oh. And I need to be real careful with that because it actually just pops real quick. And I got a tiny, tiny scratch on the surface. Ah, that's too bad. But it is in there. The fret dot's in there. And now we know what to do. So if you want to see, now we have a fret dot. We're just going to continue to do this throughout. Up into the... Now I want to find the center dot here. And then again, I'm going to angle it to where I can see. Make sure I'm at the right angle. Hole number 2 drilled. Very similarly, we're going to get in there with just a little bit of super glue. Do it really cautiously. Just add 1 drop. Okay. Grab this. Push it through. Shouldn't be getting stuck. Oh, that got stuck. Okay, let's try the other end. Push that through. We're gonna have to we're really gonna have to, yeah, there we go. And then we're just gonna let that dry. I have to sand the end of this so it's flat again. And then similarly, this should just pop right off. But now we know it's like, once it gets going, it's gonna fly. So I'll face that way. Whew! And we learned how to properly do that. So now we have 2 fret dots. And they're a little off alignment, but that doesn't bug me. All right. Now let's get into it. Now we're going to do the 2 dots. Oh, real quick, I should do a flat trim of this. So I'm going to grab our sandpaper blocks. Find the heavy grit. There it is. The heavy grit paper, and just sand the end so that it's flush. And we get rid of the other stuff. Perfect. So this should be still good to go. And again, pretty easy peasy. We're just going to go in there with our super glue. It needs to go deep in there. Ooh. Okay. And now, pop this through the hole, assuming it will fit. Oh, maybe it's the other end that we sanded. You know what? These ends aren't working, so we'll just do brand new fresh ends. There we go. Pop those in. And we'll try to get this in too before it dries. Yep. Let those dry for a second. And then, similarly, just pop it off. And I might do just a tiny bit more. There we go. Similarly, this one we might just do a tiny bit more. And again, we're going to sand these too, but now we have our dot inlays on the side of the guitar. Pretty exciting. And I'm just going to do 2 more. I'm not going to do dot inlays over here. We don't need to see that. See if this will poke in. Yeah, it's not flush. But I think these will, if I find the flat end. Good. So we've learned to pre-trial test the dots for side dots, which is a valuable lesson to learn. We're going to go ahead and try to put this in there. Oh, come on. Get in there. Here we go. And then we're going to pop this in. Oh, this should pop right in. There we go. Let that dry. Let it dry for a little bit. And then we're going to take our inlay dot and get it to go through. Perfect. Okay, last dot. Our last inlay dot. Just get our little super glue thing to bend in there. Oh, come on. Okay, and we got some super glue. Now we just need our flat edge, which is here. We need to put it through that hole. Should not be hard at all. Push it in all the way to the bottom. Let it dry. I'm going to go ahead and move this super glue thing. I'm going to pull it off if we can. If not, we can use our little pliers or something while we're waiting for that to dry. Go ahead and take this. Oh, come on. Take this. Pull it off. Oh no, we're going to have to cut off the top of this. Great. Super glue dried that fast on the little 2B thing. 2B fair. The 2B. Okay. Let me see if I can still get that off. That should still pop off. There we go. Yep. Still got that off. Super glue's drying on my fingers, which is great. Okay. Now that this is kind of steady there, we'll just do our last bit just to hold this and just kind of push this through. Like so. Okay, so we have our side inlay dots installed. I'll save this other inlay material for the future in case I ever need to do side dots on a guitar again. Now I've got the inlays to do it. Whew. Lots of tape and sticky stuff. But we managed to get those inlay dots in there. Boom. And those are going to look even sharper once we've installed our frets, which is the next step. So we're going to play a quick trailer, and then we will get into fret installation. Woohoo! By the way, I mean, look how good that looks. Pretty stoked. Pretty freaking stoked.
Our heroic adventurers fought orcs, monsters, sorcerers, necromancers. Now they find themselves in front of a mystical library. What shall they find? It's all in the roll of the dice. We've come this far. There's great power behind this door. I can feel it. We just have to get past it. This door is no match for my axe. I shall chop it down. You always want to use brute strength. Why don't you try knocking? We'll try it your way. You may enter. The library is open to all those who seek knowledge. Feel free to look through our tomes. Maybe you'll find the answers you seek. I sense great power here, and it's behind those shelves. Indeed, there are powerful items hidden behind these shelves, but you can only get there through the enchanted words. Do you have those words? I believe I do.
Tremble before the Cremble.
There is great power. Look at that glove. Must be so powerful. That is not where I sense this power. I must get closer. I found them. I found the sacred manuscripts written by Joshua Kemble. Behold, I now possess 2 stories and Jacob's apartment. Please tell us more about 2 stories and Jacob's apartment, and who is Joshua Kemble? Xeric Award-winning cartoonist Joshua Kemble is a freelance artist, graphic designer, and author. 2 Stories is a confessional graphic memoir that grapples with questions of faith, mental illness, depravity, and ultimately redemption in a fallen world. Jacob's Apartment is a coming-of-age graphic novel in the vein of Ghost Road and Fun Home. It weaves together the threads of spiritual faith, identity, purpose, love, and loss to create an engrossing world in which waking and sleeping dreams collide. You have made your choice. The passage is now closed. Wait, can I get that glove? No. Oh. All right, let's go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are at the point of now doing the frets. So what we're going to do is install the frets. Then we're going to have to retape the guitar all over again. And then from there, it's going to be basically like resanding the fretboard and stuff like that. But we're in pretty good shape. We now have fret inlays that we installed on this stream, and they're nice and shiny and pretty. It's hard to see on camera, but they're, pearl. So they have like that pearl look, which is pretty exciting. We have our side dots, which will eventually get sanded since we're going to be sanding the sides. So now what we need to do is I need to cut these pretty plainly, and then we have to install our frets. The first thing that I'm going to do is get my brand new frets, and we're going to do tape again. So I'm going to do a nice strand of tape about as long as the neck of the guitar, because these are already adjusted frets. So they're pre-cut, not exactly, but they're very close to the final cut of the fret. So what I want to do is kind of basically organize them by width. So that's what we're going to do first. And stick them to this little tape thing. And that way we have them all in order for our later installation. So we have these brand new beautiful frets. Brass frets, brand new, very pretty. Very, very pretty. So we're going to kind of find the fitting and work our way from there. And that's pretty darn close. So we'll do that there. Is this one longer or shorter? This one's a little bit shorter. Is that too short for the fretboard? No, that's pretty good. This one, a little bit shorter. It's actually fine. Let's lay them all out on this table in order. It'll be easier before taping them. So I'm gonna basically be laying them out from. We had some super glue stick to this. We're gonna lay this out in order of like smallest to thickest, which is pretty basic and simple thing. I'll try to kind of move this down so you can kind of see what I'm doing. So I'm moving like the thickest, whichever is thickest or thinnest. So that's on this side. And some of these widths are like remarkably close, which is fine. This looks like way thicker than the thickest. Let's find out. It is. This is about the same exact length as that one. This is smaller. So this is like the kind of detail work that's slightly boring, is like, okay, we got to just lay out which ones are longest from which ones are shortest. Okay. This one is definitely shortest. I think this might actually be the end fret. So we'll place that here. This one's a little bit bigger, I think. Yep. So we're going to place that here. Very exciting stuff. Organizing your frets by width. And it's good to do because that way you don't have to cut off any more excess fret than you have to, which is kind of nice. I think this is longer. Yes. Significantly longer. Oh. Okay. I'm going to continue. This is longer. It's about the same width here. That's good. This is exactly a little bit shorter than the previous tiny one. It's good to know. This one. Thicker. Mildly smaller than that. The boring part of like the layout at the beginning, I know. And what's cool is this part should actually go relatively quickly. Good. This one seems significantly longer than a lot of them. Like slightly longer? Where does it rest with this one? Shorter or longer? It's longer. By the way, mad shout out to my wife who puts up with me being a lunatic who wants to work on a guitar on a Saturday.
You're doing it in the kitchen where I can't see you. I don't care.
I know.
Although you should hang out with your boy when it's bath time.
Yes, we will do that. And we've got a little bit longer. It's a tiny bit shorter than this one, I think. Let me double check. It's actually a little bit longer.
Actually, I don't really care.
It's kind of like even slightly bigger than this. So we only have like maybe 4 frets to go to sorting the frets. Now, sometimes when you buy fret packs, like for instance, the stainless steel ones that I bought for my last guitar, they were all equivalent length, and then you just had to trim them accordingly. But if you can get them kind of pre-cut, it does help because it's less to trim off at the end. You can also just get wire if you have a fret wire maker. Some luthiers have that, where they will get wire and then they pinch it through and it makes the bottom portion. But I am no luthier, so I get them pre-cut. And this is my second time doing a fret job, so it's not like I am in the habit of ordering these supplies. It's a cool skill to know that I can do, though. That's pretty exciting. I didn't know I could do inlay dots, and now I know.
I had like 7 different moments where I was trying to not say, that's what she said. While you were talking just now.
Mai's holding back on the that's what she says. She's been holding back real hardcore. Okay. So, yeah, we have our fret arrangement. And you know what? This whole tape thing, not necessary. All right. We're going to go through these and kind of work like inlay some frets. So what I want to do is clear out all the gunk from this line. And maybe we'll start with a brush, because there's some stuff in there just trapped in there. So what we're going to do is just recut that line a little bit. We just want to make sure it's a nice flush line and ready to go. I might even want to make sure it's a little bit deeper here. Okay, so now we're gonna do. You know what? We're just gonna do all our lines first, and then we'll glue in the frets. It's tempting to do a fret at a time, but I'd rather make sure they're all notched. You don't want to go too far into the wood. But we're just recutting. Making sure it's a nice, bit, and we're also wanting to get rid of any of the glue that might be remaining from the previous job. So we have these nice clean lines now for the frets, and we're just going to go through and do that. If you guys are still watching, let me know what you're up to right now. A little bit into the stream. It's been pretty fun though. looking at each end just to make sure. There's sometimes like little bits of glue there too that I want to make sure I'm popping out. We're just clearing out the fretboard real quick. Ugh. We're going to condition this too before we put in the frets. Well, you know what? Maybe we'll wait till after. Because I don't want the oil interfering with the glue. It's just tempting because it looks so pretty once you add the oil from rosewood. Yes.
Josh?
Yes.
Just so you know, it's 6 o'clock.
Oh, okay. Should I, Okay. So I might have to go in a few minutes to do bath time with my kid, which I think should kind of work because we finished radiusing the neck, and we could, like, once we have these cut, we could make that like part of the next thing. Is okay, we radiused the neck, right? We installed our fret dots. By the way, I wish you guys could feel it. It feels so smooth. And then I think that the next video, like once we finish this line, then we can do our fret thing on a different video, maybe later tonight. And that's not the end of it, right? Because after we do the frets, then we have to cut the nut, file the nut to the proper radius, and then we have to get our bridge. This has been fun, though. So again, we're trying to make sure we have a nice, clean point of entry for when we install the frets. Some of this is just getting rid of the sawdust that accumulated. So we're just making sure we have a nice clean line to install the fret. And let's move on over to this side. So let me know if you guys found this interesting. You know, I thought it was fun to do. We got our fret inlays. We got our fret dots. You know, we didn't perfect it as much as like a luthier possibly could. I learned that I think on the side dots it would be preferable if I pre-drew a pencil hole because I did get one dot slightly a little too high. So next time it will be absolute perfection. This time, not too bad. This is also great because let's say I have an acoustic guitar and the side dot falls out or something. I don't have to pay a luthier now to do it because I know. Now, maybe I would if it was like a more expensive instrument. But it's kind of fun to learn these things. It's kind of like learning how to work on a car on certain things where if you know this stuff, you can save a lot of money. Plus, it's just fun. And this is part of why I like the idea of teaching. I'm drawn to education because there's something really cool about learning stuff you don't know yet. There's something really cool about that. This is the one spot where I need to be a little careful because I don't want to obviously cut into the guitar itself. Again, just making real crisp lines for when we install the frets. I think we will condition the fretboard and then we'll call it, because the fretboard needs a little bit of conditioning after all this. It's very dry. We want to condition it so it doesn't split when we're doing our installation of the frets. And we will be taping up the board again once we get to the fret installation. There we go. We've got it kind of perfectly notched now. And I think what we'll do is real quickly, we're going to condition this with oil and then we'll call it for now. And I'm going to go give my kid a bath and then we might come back to do the frets in an hour or so. Whew. All right, I love this stuff. This is Dunlop 65. It's like good fretboard oil. You basically just put it on your board. And you just let it kind of soak up. And I'm just going to let it sit and incubate a little bit on the board. But it just makes it look nice and pretty. Gives the wood some oil so that the wood can condition itself. and it's just like magic stuff. So Dunlop 65. So what I'll do is let this sit for a second. While I do, I'm just going to show you how pretty that is. Isn't that beautiful? We'll let that sit and absorb for a second. I have a very dirty rag from when I've done this in the past. I'm going to do a wipe down of this, condition it one more time. So, really rub in there. We'll condition it one more time after this, and then we'll call it for the stream. But hopefully, once I do that, you guys can see what a lovely thing we've made so far. Isn't that beautiful? Some beautiful side dots. This guitar is going to be a very lovely guitar. So I'm going to do one more conditioning, and then we'll let it sit, and we'll stream later tonight. Make sure you guys are subscribed, that you've hit that bell to get notifications when we're about to go live. And yeah, next step, frets. So on the next video, we're going to show you how to install frets. So I've shown you kind of how to do, your little fret markers or whatever. Looks like there's a little bit of a bump on this, which we will fix. Whoop. How to do your fret markers and your side dots. And on the next video, we'll show you how to install your frets onto the board. So thanks, guys. And I will be working on comics as well. But for now, we're just going to call this a day. And I appreciate it. And I will see you guys on the next live stream. Bye. Oh, wait. You know what? One more pass, just so you can see how pretty this fretboard is going to look. Look at that. Okay. Have a good one, guys. See you on the next one.